Republicans are pushing back on the third indictment of former President Donald Trump by claiming that he was just engaging in free speech when he conspired to overturn the 2020 election. Here's Trump's lawyer, John Allaro, making that case.
This is an attack on free speech and political advocacy. And there's nothing that's more protected under the First Amendment than political speech. What we have now is an administration that has criminalized the free speech and advocacy of a prior administration during the time that there is a political election going on. And ultimately, he had every right, in fact, a responsibility as a United States president to raise those issues. And now his advocacy is being criminalized.
Oh, so, okay, not only is this free speech, but Donald Trump, he was supposed to, he had a responsibility to, lie and to conspire to, once again, overturn the 2020 election. So, look, that's their defense. Seems pretty ridiculous. And I'm not the only one who agrees. Interestingly enough, here is former Trump toady William Barr.
Trump's attorneys are saying, and they're also saying that he was just exercising his First Amendment right here. Do you think that's a valid argument in your view?
No, I really don't think that's a valid argument because, as the indictment says, they're not attacking his First Amendment right. He can say whatever he wants. He can even lie. He can even tell people that the election was stolen when he knew better. But that does not protect you from entering into a conspiracy. All conspiracies involve speech, and all fraud involves speech. So, free speech doesn't give you the right to engage in a fraudulent conspiracy.
So, obviously, conspiracy is the main word here, and Barr used it several times. And again, Trump, that's what he's been charged with: conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of and attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. And look, that's, again, doesn't actually, it's not just about him lying, right? Because again, you can lie. That is protected speech in many circumstances. However, not when it comes to this. And so I'll get into the details of this, okay? Because again, the indictment here largely centers on Trump's efforts to install slates of fake electors in slates that he lost. States that he lost. He also falsely insisted that as presiding officer over the election certification, Vice President Mike Pence had the authority to refuse certification and send the matter back to the states, which would then designate pro-Trump electors as legitimate ones in the Electoral College. But of course, they were not legitimate, they were illegitimate. And that's the coup, that's the conspiracy. And yes, obviously, in order to have a conspiracy, you have to have people talk to each other about it, right? That's not what they're going after. They're not going after the fact that they're speaking to each other. It's the fact that they are conspiring with each other in order to do something illegal. And so this is why this is not protected speech. This is not a case about the First Amendment. Smith repeatedly accuses Trump of pressuring government officials to commit criminal acts, to commit election fraud. That's the crime here. The crime isn't speaking. The crime is what they're speaking to do, what that speech is intended for, okay, and what he was asking. Look, soliciting another individual to commit a crime is not protected speech, and that's already been litigated. Back in 2008, there was a case, U.S. versus Williams, and in that decision, the Supreme Court found that offers to engage in illegal transactions are categorically excluded from First Amendment protections. So you can kind of compare this, and I know it'll seem like a strange comparison, but when he asked, for example, Brad Raffensperger, Trump did, to find 11,780 votes that were fraudulent, votes that he did not actually earn, but find them anyway so that I can win the election, right? So it's just one more than what we need, okay? So that's being compared to essentially saying like, hey, I'll give you $50,000 if you kill my wife. I mean, again, you're basically asking and offering something for someone to do a crime on your behalf. And in the case, what would Brad Raffensperger get? Donald Trump's eternal gratitude, which apparently to him is like the best thing that you could ever get. But anyway, yes, you're technically engaged in speech, but again, that speech is in the commission of a crime. You're telling someone to do crime on your behalf. That is wrong. That is not protected. Additionally, Smith repeatedly alleges that Trump knew that he was spreading falsehoods, that he was lying when he claimed that he had prevailed in 2020, the election, or that the outcome of the 2020 election was in doubt. So now that's different from like the average MAGA chud going on Facebook and screaming, "Oh, the election is stolen." Guys, I know you're furiously typing away. Trust me, the government's not going to come for you, okay? Because you're not doing this in the commission of a crime. You're not actually saying this in order to get officials to do crime on your behalf. Okay, that's not what's going on. Now, the Supreme Court has held that the First Amendment is weak, especially weak, when applied to false statements with knowledge that it was false or with reckless disregard of whether it was false or not. For example, in the case United States v. Alvarez, the court found that while some lies are protected speech, because obviously, right, in cases where false claims are made to effect a fraud or secure monies or other valuable considerations, say offers of employment, it is well established that the government may restrict speech without affronting the First Amendment. So basically, it's just, there are limits on the First Amendment. You cannot commission the First Amendment to do crime. And that's it, because the crime itself is not protected. So in speech, that tells people to do crimes, and aids in crime, not protected speech. Imagine if it was. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that you could get away with that you shouldn't. All right, so now, it's funny because the court had mentioned, hey, valuable considerations, right? Like a job interview. Well, isn't an election a giant job interview when you think about it? Now, finally, the indictment also includes many allegations that Trump did not simply engage in abstract advocacy in favor of overthrowing the 2020 election, but that he specifically solicited specific individuals to commit specific crimes. Again, the very kind of activity that is not protected speech. So let me reiterate for the final time, this is not a First Amendment case. This is not a free speech case. Sorry. Legal experts could find other weaknesses in the case against Trump. I'm sure that it certainly is possible. But going with the free speech, must free speech, that's not going to be one of those that I think is going to fly. Look, and I say that because as much as I've criticized him, William Barr is not a stupid person. No, the guy knows what he's doing. And I go back and show that he used his legal expertise to help Donald Trump squirm his way out of trouble before. So he knows what he can and cannot help Donald Trump get out of. And even this guy knows, Donald Trump, your argument, free speech, total BS.